My people, I have no regrets. I, Nandi, Queen of the Zulu nation, have lived a life anointed by the ancestors. I was chosen to birth a king and lead my people. I called him Umlilwana, the fire to warm my heart and hands. But little did I know he would later turn into a flame that would burn brightly, illuminating the future of our nation. My son gave me a life like no other, Shaka Senzangakhona. I have ruled over 1,000 lush valleys and heard the songs of praise from Amagumu Namajiji, the young men and women of KwaZulu who have lived and loved for generations. They who claim a lineage from Nguni, the original ancestor of AmaZulu. Nguni, father of Luzumana, father of Malandela, father of Zulu, father of Mageba, who fathered Ndaba, whose son is Jama, who fathered the love of my life, Senzangakhona. He who does well, Senzangakhona.
Ngizwa indlovukazi yakhuluma ithi, my people, I repeat, I have no regrets about the life I have lived, my great loves, my great losses are mine to tell. Regret is the mother of grief, bitterness and scorn. After all, my name is the antithesis of bitterness. I am Nandi, the sweet one. Yes, I am sweet until you cross me. The people who birthed Indlovukazi are called Abantu Baselangeni, people of the sun, powerful and warm as the sun's life-giving rays. Abantu Baselangeni prize courtesy, warmth, love, and kindness above all else. They are a peace-loving people and a nation that abhors and avoids war at all costs. Like the many clans and families that formed the Zulu nation, the people of Elangeni knew peace for generations. They lived in harmony. The skirmishes that took place between clans were triggered by minor disputes over grazing land. The weapons used, the long throwing spears, were flung from afar and resulted in minor injuries rather than fatal blows. We are part of the Nguni nations. Bangoni. They will harm no one.
I am no longer of this world. I have returned to the heavens. My people of Elangeni claimed back my spirit from the life of restlessness, wandering, and loss. I am safe in the valley of happiness, nestled by the sun and covered in eternal love. I have time and love on my side. My hope is that time and the eternal love of the divine will heal my wounds in my womb and in my heart. This hope is unfulfilled. My words, spoken again and again in blinding anger during my lifetime, are a sad echo across time, an echo carried across many voids of the living, in flesh and in spirit. Amagama anamandla. In anger, my words poisoned my bloodline. I can hear their echoes still. Children of my children echo my tears across the ages. A curse upon the House of Elangeni for what they did to me. Rejected by Senzangakhona, his sister Mkabai, even my own father, Bebe, chief of Elangeni. Yes, my father shrank in shame and looked at me with scorn. And when I was forced by the Zulu royal family to return home from now to eternity, generations of my beloved children will know the pain of my humiliation. They will know hurricanes, whirlwinds, and unending rain. They will know know the searing pain of a red-hot spear through a lover's longing heart. Till eternity, the line of Nandi Mhlongo, queen of the Zulu nation, will know no peace. Lovers will betray and spit upon the children of the sun. Their hearts will break into a million pieces again and again. Marriages will end in misery and hopelessness. Children of my children will breathe heartache, separation, and loneliness.
Violence and disease and poverty will seep into the line of Mhlongo and Zulu, a union the ancestors refused to bless. Nandi calls on the power of her pain.
In my future, our warrior princesses, who I pray will erase the power of my words, for it is through them that hope for a great tomorrow lies. Keeya, Uju, and Amangwe, they are the hope that the ancestors have given me to right the wrongs of my anger. They will manifest in flesh across ages. I will be given the chance to guide their visions and lead them to create a more peaceful world. Peace leads to prosperity. Peace begins with peace in one's heart.
Keeya's weeping is uncontrollable. A loud wailing that has beckoned an array of confused riverbirds to start arguing noisily about the cause of Keeya's distress. Still dressed in her luxurious, bright, yellow mbako wedding dress with intricate gold embroidery, she sits perched on a rock like a mad woman, with her legs and the bottom flare of her dress drenched in the river. Luckily, the water is calm and still, and will not pull her into its depths. Keeya's wails are stopped by the sudden appearance across the bank of a river of a beautiful queen dressed in the deep red regal clothes and beads worn in the eastern kingdoms of KwaZulu.
Keeya is not afraid of the stranger. It is Nandi. She says, it is no use crying over spilt milk. Let him go.
Queen Nandi feels the pain in Keeya's eyes, as though it is her own. She wants to soothe Keeya's aching heart.
Queen Nandi is hypnotized by Keeya. Everything about Keeya feels like gold. Her skin, her hair, her eyes. She is entrancing and very beautiful. Strangers and familiars alike are attracted to her aura. Her golden complexion echoes her San and Motswana ancestry and carries her magnificent large oval eyes and oval face, crowned by a mane of black hair grown from babyhood, and only cut once at birth, never cut again. Keeya's woolly hair sits high on her head. Keeya, golden flower. Keeya rubs her tearful eyes to ensure she is wide awake and not dreaming this magnificent vision.
Who are you? Where are you from?
Keeya's head and body feel a tingling warmth as though she has drank too much beer. Nandi says,
Forget about Pefo. When your father journeys east to the kingdoms of Abanguni, go with him.
Queen Nandi's instructions surprise Keeya.
How do you know about Pefo? And my father? Who are you?
Keeya's mother, Mosie Mamaregane, approaches the riverbank and sees Keeya sitting on the rock and talking to herself. She embraces her daughter tenderly, fearing the worst, that the tragic events in the morning have caused her precious child to lose her mind, and she is now sitting on the riverbank, talking to herself. She sits on the rock next to Keeya, her arm around her beloved daughter.
Do you see her? Do you see the beautiful queen?
Queen Nandi smiles and waves at Keeya and her mother. Mosie feels that indeed the worst has happened. The stress of her daughter's cancelled wedding has driven her mad.
Let's go back home, my precious child.
Keeya is too weak to resist her mother's firm arms pulling her up. and guiding her back home. Keeya stops for a moment and looks back at the queen. She's still standing there, smiling at Keeya. At home, the guests who had come for Keeya and Pifu's wedding have departed. Never in the history of Moagi has something so despicable happened. How dare they promise to marry Kgositau's daughter and even go as far as delivering the Bahodi kettle, then have the gall to not follow through. This has never happened in Moagi, ever. This is an outrage. Who abandons the Khosi's daughter? Who has the gall to bring cows of promise to Khosi's kraal, only to disappear without a trace? Kgositau was livid. He is devastated, weeping and confused. Where could Pifu the groom be? Kgositau sends a message that Pifu and his people must explain immediately what has happened.
The explanation comes the very next day.
Pifu's father, Ntate, a thin, tall man with hunched shoulders, arrives at the Moagi homestead. Early the next day, he braves the icy stairs from Moagi. He walks in with humility and regret etched on his furrowed face. He greets the elders sitting under the morula tree.
Bagolo, dumelang. Ke tla ka kgotso mo ha Moagi.
The men mumble greetings. Kgositau rises stiffly, his tall, broad-shouldered frame brooding. He gestures to Ntate to follow. They enter the big hut where special guests are received and sit on the wooden benches facing each other. Ntate speaks with the bold and humble resolve of one who has accepted that chaos reigns and must run its course.
Ngwanaka Phefo is nowhere to be found. When his brothers went to see if he was ready to come and claim his bride, they found an empty hut.
Kgositau can see that Ntate is in pain, and his anger at the previous day's affront turns to pity. Both men sense the deep disappointment and sadness of the other. They sit in silence for a few minutes. They know that words cannot fix their shattered hopes. A future together as a mighty Moagi and Khotla alliance is not to be. Tata Khotla flinches as the words leave his mouth.
Se Resitsibang Mabaribari. Ori Phefo has made a girl from another village pregnant, and he has eloped with her to escape the shame.
He clears his throat and looks into Kgositau's eyes.
I wish I could change all this, Kgosi Moagi. Kimaswali. I'm ashamed of what my son has done. A moment of great beauty has turned into a long nightmare. My family and I don't know where to look to escape the accusing eyes of the community. We are full of grief because of what our own has unleashed.
Ntate Khotla's eyes well up with tears. Kgositau clears his throat. He is exhausted from the strain of comforting his wife, daughter, and family members.
Khotla, I commend your courage. You have looked me in the eye and delivered a bitter message for both families. I'll forever respect and hold the Khotla family in high regard. You cannot go everywhere your son's heart goes. Or Rawahari, not his shadow. And cannot be undone.
Being a practical man, Kgositau stands up to signal that the two men have no further business with each other. Tata Khotla leaves the Moagi homestead, relieved that he has owned up to his son's sins.
Keeya and her mother, on the other hand, are inconsolable. They weep until they fall asleep in the early hours of the next morning. Kgosigadi Bokamoso holds her daughter in her arms and rocks her gently to sleep like she used to when Keeya was very young.
And so, it is that Kgositau's daughter is devastated through the loss of her love. Keeya, promised marriage by the dashing and handsome Pifu, only to be left stranded and heartbroken in her parents' homestead full of luscious cattle. Oh, what a sad and dreadful day in the history of Moagi.
Keeya's melancholy is echoed by the endless late summer rains. It is January in 1868, and the rains are relentless. Torrents pour on Moagi. Like the bottomless wells of Keeya's hurt, the rains continue for days and weeks without ceasing. In solitude, cocooned by the rain, Keeya dreams about a seductive, breathtakingly handsome man. A man with eyes that laugh on their own. It feels as though she has met this attractive gentleman before. Long ago, at the beginning of time, in the dream, he smiles and comforts her through the rivers of rain. She wakes up sad that the gentleman is not there.
In his stead, there's the striking queen in her crimson clothes and beads. Indlovukazi, please.
I need your help, Keeya. Travel east with your father and undo the curse.
Queen Nandi disappears as quickly as she appeared,
leaving Keeya unsure whether she was part of her dream or...
Keeya rubs her eyes, hoping that the queen will come back.
What does she mean, she must undo the curse? What is she talking about?
Keeya has questions and hopes the queen will reappear. She waits in vain and sinks back into her heartache. Sophiatown and Mosie Mamaregane try their best to comfort their precious daughter. But alas, grief has come to stay for a while.
Keeya refuses to leave her sleeping quarters.
Even her older brother, Leruo, and his lovely wife, Refilwe, cannot console her. Keeya's broken heart is a raging wound in her chest.
And all she can do to keep breathing is to lie still in her bed and focus her mind on the sound of rain. When the rain stops, Keeya feels calm. The sky above is now a clear blue beyond, ages after weeks of rain. Keeya mends her heart by focusing on the clear blue sky. She imagines the great divine being smiling at her and sending her a special prayer of comfort. Keeya stays indoors and listens to the peaceful birds outside and stares at the sky above. The beautiful blue sky, so clear and peaceful.
The kingdom of Moagi tries to forget the insult of Khotla's broken promise. The village drunks come to Sophiatown's homestead daily to see about the alcohol. They sing songs about how potent the brew is. Day and night the brew flows and the songs come thick and fast.
Dauna dote, dauya bakhata Moagi, releboha mokete.
On it goes.
Dauna dote, dauya bakhata Moagi, releboha mokete.
On it goes.
Dauna dote, dauya bakhata Moagi, releboha mokete.
The lovers of food visit to see about the food. Soon enough, the mountain of food prepared for the wedding that never was is vanquished. Life slowly goes back to normal, and the Khosi and the Khosikgadi go back to the business of trading gold and selling their world's most beautiful jewelry pieces. Together with their aides, Leruo and Refilwe, the Khosi and the Khosikgadi go back to business as usual. Sophiatown starts to prepare for his annual pilgrimage to the east, where the kingdom of Ngunis reside. Moagi trades gold jewelry in return for the Ngunis' precious golden pots, a well, as well as artworks carved out of pure gold. Food and drink stored in the golden pots of the Nguni have delicious taste. The pots serve a dual function of being functional as well as decorative. The Nguni enhance the beauty of any home and ensure that feasts are catered for in a most glamorous manner. This year will be different in that Sophiatown will go on the trip alone, as Mosie Mamaregane will stay behind to tend to their ailing daughter and see to the business of running the homestead. Whilst planning his trip, Sophiatown has an epiphany, a divine idea to force his daughter out of mourning for peace. Sophiatown enters the hut where Keeya lies in bed. Keeya smiles absent-mindedly when she sees her father, a habit her face is used to performing whenever she sees Sophiatown, the light of her heart.
Dumela pa.
He speaks with some hesitation.
Khosikgadi, I have come to make you an offer you cannot refuse.
Keeya sits up, and a smile warms and widens.
I am leaving for Elangeni tomorrow, Kwazi. And I think you should come along. It will be a great adventure. You have always wanted to travel east with your mother and I. Well, Sekisibaka Sahara.
Keeya has never traveled out of her Moagi before. She has heard of the world around her from the stories and songs her parents and elders tell. Queen Nandi appears briefly in front of Keeya and nods in approval. Keeya stares at Queen Nandi, waiting to see if she will speak. Sophiatown gently rouses his daughter from the trance. That seems to be a habit with her lately.
Keeya, I know what's
Sophiatown hopes his daughter will agree to travel with him. Queen Nandi disappears, snapping Keeya out of the trance.
So, will you grace your dear father with your wonderful presence, flower of Bahad?
Keeya doesn't need to be convinced to go on the trip.
That sounds amazing. But how many days will we travel? Is it very close to the sea? How big is the sea? Is it like an enormous river with waves, like in my story? The waves that thunder.
Keeya's eyes widen as she sees the hills and the ocean.
We are leaving at dawn.
Sophiatown is pleased to hear life in his daughter's voice. Before the sun rises, Sophiatown prepares his horses, wagons, and tents for the long journey east. He will travel with a party of 10 carefully chosen women and men. Among them will be the great hunters and trackers who will ensure the party avoids dangerous animals and have enough meat to eat. The stargazers will guide the journey and keep to disciplined timelines. When the hour of sunrise comes to depart, everyone is shocked to see the almost skeletal Keeya appear and join the trip. Sophiatown is relieved to see his daughter out in the sun for the first time in weeks. That is how long it has been since the disaster of the failed wedding. Sophiatown is pleased that he managed to convince Keeya to travel east.
Keeya has heard her parents and brother talk at length about the kingdoms of the Nguni, particularly the kingdoms of Elangi. She is excited that she will be seeing with her very own eyes what she has always been told about. She imagines walking through the valley of 1,000 hills and hearing the ocean's coming waves and glorious singing of the east. Keeya imagines the beauty of the hills and the mighty Zulu and Mhlongo kingdoms. She has heard about how green and beautiful the lands of the Nguni are. And she has heard about the Nguni's varied and potent healing herbs. Like Botswana, the Nguni have lingana, which they call umhlonya, the herb that cured her of the terrible fever she caught at Bujelo when she was coming of age. Umhlonya's aromatic leaves are boiled and drunk to cure many chest ailments. There's also iskumama, whose roots can be dried and smoked to heal asthma. The stem of iskumama can also make a potent lightning protector infused and sprinkled around the yard. Once, a jealous wizard from a rival kingdom sent lightning to the kraal of Sophiatown. His aim was to set the kraal on fire and destroy all the cattle. Thanks to iskumama, the lightning flames only licked the edge of the kraal and died a quick death. The following day, villagers heard the kraal of the wizard had caught fire instead and was totally decimated. That which that wicked wizard had wished upon Sophiatown was returned to him threefold, thanks to the potent power of iskumama.
Keeya's excitement at journeying east makes her forget all about her heartache. She forgets all about Pifo with his heavy, handsome brow and mouth. She even forgets about the queen dressed in magnificent red clothes and beads. She now has her heart set on going east and discovering the magic of the Nguni's healing herbs and their intricately decorated golden pots. Kingdoms vast and breathtaking in their majesty and beauty. The journey east will bring back golden treasure pots filled with healing herbs. Sophiatown is secretly delighted that his daughter has stopped moping over the rogue Pif. He is pleased that she will be coming on the trip and hopefully her sunken heart will be cured by the trip. Sophiatown is also delighted that Keeya, who is an accomplished storyteller and singer, will share her famous stories and songs on the trip east.
And so it is that Keeya goes on a month-long adventure that will explode into her very own enchanted universe.
On the first night of the Moagi traveling party's rest, Keeya enchants her audience as she sings her melancholy song, Lerato Lekganya, about love, in her haunting soprano. This is the story that Khosatsana Keeya sings.
Bahulu bangwana kamoya wahanya liwali sedi banze babata utire letapi luyangwana yo liholimo lensu fela lirato liaparetipi luyangwana yo liholimo lensu khanya lirato khanya dinaledi khanya lirato
When Keeya finishes a divine song, the audience cannot move or make a sound. They remember the reason why life is lived and lost. They remember loves lost, found, and lost again. They remember that, like the stars that twinkle through time, love lives eternally.
I now have my hopes on the one they call Uju. Like my name, Nandi, Uju means the one who is as sweet as honey. Uju is beautiful. She is the color of smooth dark brown river stones with pitch black almond eyes that are big and full of fire. The only connection she has with her name is her smile, broad and very seductive. Many men have fallen for that smile, only to get to know her fiery nature and flee for the hills. All the men have fled except Mahamba. Vusumuzi Mahamba prides himself on taming the beautiful and fiery Uju.
I am a whirlwind, like the last month of the winter I was born in. At 3 in the morning on the 9th of August, I arrived in the world. The midwives had said I would arrive in the warm September month, signaling the new year. But being impatient and excited to see what the world had in store for me, I arrived without warning. No waters broke, and the labor pains felt like minor discomfort, and not the knowing pains of life. Umama told me. When the midwives arrived, ready with blankets and warm water, I was already swathed in a warm blanket and nestling happily and hungrily on my mother's breast. Umama, Nokuthula Mazibuko, was the youngest and favored wife in the polygamous homestead of Ubaba. Rumor has it that Ubaba, Mosie Mhlongo, the chief, called Nokuthula to his homestead using powerful love herbs. That was the only explanation they could find as to why the young and beautiful Nokuthula had fallen in love with a man twice her age. Yes, Ubaba, at 40 years, was fit and handsome and didn't look much older than Umama's 20 years, but the fact remains, he already had 2 wives who were his age mates and 10 children. Umama joined the toxic world of Mosie Mhlongo's polygamous home and came to be addressed as Madlamini. When Madlamini joined the Mhlongo home and gave birth to me, she expressed the wrath and venom of Ubaba's two older wives. The sabotage was immediate. From casually sprinkling too much salt in Umama's stews to calling on dark magic to shatter her pregnancy, Ubaba's two older wives stopped at nothing to try and destroy Umama. What they didn't realize is that beneath her sweet exterior and charming smile, Madlamini was as tough as nails and would not let go of Ubaba. She was in love with him, like I'm in love with Mahamba. And she didn't mind sharing him with his two venomous wives. I mind sharing my Mahamba.
Born into the cauldron, conflict and backstabbing, Uju learns to fight for survival. When her older siblings see their father doting on her and giving her 2 stick sweets and not one like he gives the others, they wait for him to disappear into his work as a grocery store owner and chief officiating local conflicts before unleashing bites, slaps, and pushes that land 8-year Uju face down in the dirt. Uju suffers bullying daily from her siblings. Walking the 1-kilometer journey to their local primary school, Uju gets pushed and tormented. One chilly morning, on a lonely walk to school, Uju suddenly hit by a rock the size of her fist at the back of her head. Startled and still reeling from the shock of the attack, she hears familiar voices laughing behind a tree, followed by about 5 of her siblings springing forth from behind the tree, one of them calling out in a voice so full of cruelty,
"Hit her with another stone, Kabishi! Hit her again!"
"Mshaye ngelinye futhi litsha Kabishi! Mshaye futhi, mshaye!" Indeed, one of her older brothers, the one whose nickname is Kabishi because his head is as big as a cabbage, advances and punches Uju's nose.
"Yes, you ugly girl. Where's your mother, Madlamini, to protect you? We are going to kill you today. Just forget about walking to school."
Kabishi's tiny, mean teenage eyes look deep into Uju's 10-year-old eyes. Kabishi expects Uju to run to school as fast as she can, as she usually does when the siblings torment her.
I started to run. Then I spotted the rock that Kabishi had thrown at my head. I picked up the hard, jagged rock and ran back to Kabishi. I took advantage of his shock at seeing me run back towards him instead of running away to school. When I was an arm's length away from Kabishi's big head, I threw the rock right between his eyes with all the strength in my soul. The rock hit Kabishi's skull with a crisp thumping sound. Plop!
The other 4 siblings recoil from the noise and hold their breath as they stare at Kabishi's bleeding head. As if hypnotized by a powerful spirit, they watch as Uju bends down and picks up the rock again.
Again I hit Kabishi's thick skull, thunk, and drew more blood on his forehead.
The others stare, mesmerized by the 2 rivers of blood trickling down Kabishi's face. Finally, they are shaken out of their trance when Kabishi lets out a loud, anguished scream. Uju moves closer to Kabishi.
I stood close to my half-brother, looking up at my sibling who was so much taller than me. I spoke with a calm authority. "Kabish, if you hit me again, if any of you push me, hit me, kick me, nizofa, you will die a slow, anguished death. Do you hear me?"
As Uju turns to pick up rocks, her 5 siblings flee, leaving Uju to stroll to school, overjoyed as the battle she has just won. The story of the encounter spreads around the neighborhood, like a raging summer fire, immediately cementing Uju's reputation as a feisty fighter not to be messed with.
From then on, I carried a rock that fit into my hand to and from school as a warning to anyone who ever thought of messing with me.
When not at school, Uju spends time with her mother, uMadlamini. The two do everything together. They go to the river to wash clothes together. They clean their home and cook together. The intimate twin life that Uju and her mother live is interrupted one day during Uju's 12th year when Uju's uncles bring her 10-year-old cousin Uzindi to stay. uMadlamini's older sister, Zindi's mother, had died giving birth to her 5th child. This had driven Zindi's father to drinking heavily in their futile attempt at coping with his loss. Indlovukazi says, because of this, his behavior had become erratic. He was clearly not to be relied upon to raise his daughter properly. The father's own brothers decided to pass Uzindi and her siblings out to various relatives.
Which was how Zindi, traumatized and depressed, came to stay with Umama and I. In no time at all, Zindi had become inseparable from me, in the process replacing Umama as my doppelganger. Zindi and I became like the tongue and saliva, inseparable. Zindi even took to copying my self-defense mechanism, carrying a rock that fits in the palm of the hand to ward off bullies and stray dogs. By the time I was of marrying age, I could pick whomsoever pleased my heart among my many suitors. The bookish Begumuzi, with his spectacles and great English, was among these enchanted young men. Begumuzi had a job as a clerk at a local law firm. He was favored by Umama because he held a diploma in administration, was very clean and well dressed, and he was head over heels in love with me. By the time I was of marrying age, I could pick whomsoever pleased my heart amongst my many suitors. The bookish Begumuzi, with his spectacles and great English, was among those enchanted young men. Begumuzi had a job as a clerk at a local law firm. He was favored by Umama because he held a diploma in administration, was very clean and well dressed, and he was head over heels in love with me. Begumuzi courted me for some months, and I enjoyed the gifts of dresses and jewelry that he bought me with his clerk's salary. After a while, his devotion began to bore me, and I decided to turn my attention to the athletic Lindokuhle. Lindokuhle had a passion for long-distance running and could be seen running up and down the hills of Kwadukuza at dusk after his shift as a cleaner at the local post office. Again, the love affair floundered months later after Lindokuhle tentatively mentioned how honored he would be if I could be the mother of his children. Mina?
Uju takes everyone by surprise when she falls head over heels in love with the unsuitable Mosie Mamaregane. Very quickly, she misses her time for the moon and keeps a tingling secret in her womb. Uju is in love with Mosie Mamaregane and loves him more deeply because of the secret in her belly.
Everyone called Vusumuzi by his surname, Mahamba, the one who keeps walking. Because of his restless nature, Mahamba, the athletic, suave, and snappy dresser, was always on the move. Mahamba was a well-known champion stick fighter who came from a wealthy cattle-owning family. His family owned 1,000 head of Nguni cattle and were the envy of farmers near and far.
Mahamba's father, a proud polygamist with 10 wives, ensures that his wives and 30 children are well taken care of. Mahamba has no interest in cattle farming. He dreams of leaving Kwadukuza and heading out to the bright lights of Johannesburg. His plan is to marry the beautiful and pregnant Uju and catch a train out of KwaDukuza.
Zindi was the first person I told about uMahamba.
Uju says, "Ungalingi umtshele uma."
Don't you dare tell Uma. I promise I'll end your life if you tell our mother about Mahamba. All the girls want to be with Mahamba and he has chosen me. He wants to marry me and take me to Johannesburg.
Zindi says, "Awu, Uju, usuzithwele bo."
Zindi said I was too young to bring up a child and get married.
Zindi cannot imagine life without Uju. Uju is waiting to hear Mahamba's whistle outside, a signal for her to meet him behind the marula tree. Zindi persists.
Uju, what if Mama catches you and Mahamba? I'm scared she'll find you two behind the marula tree.
Uju is drunk on love.
I was drunk on love. And my mother was the least of my worries. Besides, Mahamba and I would marry soon. And I would leave school and leave my mother's house.
When Mahamba's whistle pierces the night sky, Uju rushes out of the house into hours of kissing and making love to Mahamba.
When my stomach began to grow, Mahamba quickly married me. He paid 10 head of cattle for ilobolo to the Mhlongo people and introduced me to the Mahamba ancestors in the ceremony of Yokwamkelwa Kukamakoti, where the bride is anointed with the vial of the sacrificial gods.
Uju settles into the Mahamba homestead and is content and happy to be by Mahamba's side. Mahamba dotes on his wife and makes sure she lives a comfortable, happy life with solid shelter and good food to eat. Mahamba calls Uju by a pet phrase.
Uju, Kamahamba. Every evening when Mahamba would return from tending and selling cattle, he would hug me. He hugs me still, gently, and asks me, "Unjani, Uju Kamahamba? How is the love of Mahamba's life?" To which I giggled. I still giggle coyly and respond, "Yaphila, Uju Kamahamba."
The lovebirds enjoy each other's company immensely and only have eyes for each other. The lovers are so in love with each other that dreams of the bright lights of Johannesburg fade with the quick passage of time. Mahamba joins the family's cattle farming business. He oversees the farm workers, making sure the cattle are healthy and productive. Mahamba is known as the best dressed farmer in KwaDukuza. He always looks amazing in his Dukes of London shirts, brantwood pants, and carefully polished Floshem shoes. He looks as though he has stepped out of an American 40s gangster movie, rather than a cattle farm.
He made all the ladies envy my good luck at landing such a great-looking man with deep, deep pockets. Of course, no one was surprised. I had this luck of men swooning over me and granting me my heart's desires. I must have very powerful ancestors indeed, who had arranged such a delicious man of means for me. Luckily.
Amangwe, uqobo lwakhe. For her, I have negotiated a sweet deal with the Barolong representatives, who once walked on earth and now look on amused and pleased from above. I, Queen Nandi of the Zulu Nation, look to my beautiful Amangwe to continue the struggle to right the wrongs of the past and heal ancestral wounds so that future generations may prosper and live like the princes and princesses that they are. Standing tall and not bound and bowed by poverty and shame. Magwande. I, Nandi, Queen of the Zulu nation, come through first and dominate the reading. I communicate the same message I've declared for 200 years, that unless society treats women with care and respect, the cycle of violence and pain will not cease. My heart that bled for one I loved passionately has dripped onto generations. I have come to many in dreams, pleading, demanding that the wrongs done to Nandi, Queen of KwaZulu, be rectified. My pleas have fallen on deaf ears. I have visited Amangwe's dreams before, and I told her to go up a mountain and pray, Queen of KwaZulu, be rectified. My pleas have fallen on deaf ears. I have visited Amangwe's dreams before, and I told her to go up a mountain and pray that my spirit should rest in eternal peace and light. Aphahle, acele ukuthi ngigezwe isibeletho.
Amangwe's life has always been enchanted. An only child born to a doting mother, Ruth, and her grandmother, Mhlongo. Amangwe is bathed in intense love from the moment she is born. But everyone, her mother and grandmother, have expectations of Amangwe. Ugogo wakhe, Mhlongo, is so in love with her as a baby that for the first 6 months of her life, she refuses to go outside with her, fearing that the hot KwaZulu-Natal sun will scorch her beautiful, dark and delicate skin. Amangwe is born with dark brown skin, like her father. The poor music man is destined to never know that he has fathered a love child. Ruth is glad that the baby is a girl who will be claimed by Mhlongo. She sees no need to inform the Maskandi musician about his daughter.
Ruth leaves the infant Amangwe in Mhlongo's care soon after giving birth to Amangwe. Yena Mhlongo treasures the day she spends with her precious granddaughter. She takes great care of her baby Amangwe, feeding her buttery soft porridge and squashed butternut from her vegetable garden, making the baby's cheeks grow plump with health and love. And Amangwe grows to love Mhlongo as her mother, calling her sweetly Umawe. And Ruth, she calls with a somewhat less committed Ma. And so Umawe and Uma craft a determined life for the three in the hills and valleys of Eshowe. In the coming years, Amangwe and Umawe are each other's constant companions. At home, they garden, cook, clean, and take care of Umawe's sewing business together. Being a mathematics whiz, Amangwe helps her grandmother keep an organized ledger book, detailing orders monies paid, monies owed, money spent on material, and of course the profits made. The second half of the year from January to December is very busy, as it is the time when most people put in orders for curtains in order to beautify their homes for the festive season. And they come and order wedding outfits to be ready for peak wedding season in December. Amangwe sews outfits for children and Umawe takes care of the adults. Umawe is satisfied that Amangwe will take over her successful sewing business and become a successful wife and mother soon. Amangwe completes her final year of high school without missing a step. She passes all her subjects well and achieves an A+ for mathematics. Mhlongo wisely organizes a rather thriftly umemulo, letting all the suitors of Eshowe know that her beloved is now ready to become a wife and a mother. She proudly saves some money towards Amangwe's education, putting away 1,000 rand in her cake tin, hoping and praying that her intelligent Amangwe will be awarded a scholarship to take care of the enormous shortfall.
After Umemulo, Amangwe shocks Mhlongo with the news that she has been accepted to the University of the Witwatersrand to study a BCom in marketing and psychology.
Amangwe, I thought we had agreed that now you have done very well in high school, you'll be joining me in making sure that the sewing business that we have here at home grows.
Mhlongo cannot imagine life without her child, and she certainly cannot imagine life with her. Mhlongo cannot imagine life without a child. And she certainly cannot imagine her well-raised granddaughter in the dangerous Johannesburg, a place she has never seen and never been to and has absolutely no desire to visit. Every day she sees on the television and hears on the radio that crime in South Africa is on the rise. And it seems to be concentrated Egoli. Stories of people who leave KwaZulu to disappear into Egoli are legend. Every person knows someone who left for Egoli in search of umsebenzi, never to return.
Mawe, Gitibega, the letter says that the university is giving me a bursary, so you won't have to pay for anything.
Amangwe can see that her grandmother is not happy about the news of the university acceptance. But she will not let Umawe's fears dampen her excitement about finally getting out of Ushowe and seeing the world.
Let me call Ruth and tell her the great news.
Amangwe knows that it has been Ruth's. Ruth, as she endearingly calls Mamaki. It has been Ruth's dream to make sure she attends university, and she will make sure that Mhlongo's misgivings don't get in the way of her to escape Johannesburg. Don't get in the way of her to escape to Johannesburg. Amangwe dials her mother on the cell phone she received as one of her Memulo presents. The phone rings twice, and Ruth picks up. After some small talk, she gets straight to the point.
I have been accepted into university and Guinea Besari. Ruth immediately urinates on the other side of the line. Oh, Mtanami, you have been accepted at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Lana eThekwini. Shukuthi fela, we will see each other every day.
Ruth assumes that her dream of having a daughter at the University of KwaZulu-Natal is about to become a reality. She does not even imagine that Amangwe is talking about moving to Johannesburg.
I have been accepted into Wits, Ma, not UKZN, and I have Ibesari. Suddenly, there is a deafening silence on the other end.
Then at some length, Ruth says, "How?
Amangwe, Egoli, so far away."
Her soft voice sounds pained. Amangwe is taken aback by her mother's subdued and panicked response.
What happened to your application, Leah's University of KwaZulu-Natal? It is close to home. And after all, I am here, Lana Egwamashu. Egoli is too far. Amangwe can already see herself on the bus to Johannesburg. She can picture herself sliding comfortably into the fast-paced posh life of the city of gold. She speaks in comforting tones. Ungakhathazeki, Ma. I will visit home in December. I don't want to finish my airtime. Bye, Ma.
As she drops the connection, Ruth is left shaking, frustrated that she cannot look Amangwe in the eyes and tell her not to go. It is only after sitting to a cup of tea with her friends, uMandlovu noMakhumalo, that Mhlongo reconciles herself to the idea of Amangwe going to Johannesburg. Her friends have told her that Egoli is where all the rich eligible bachelors are. Amangwe will come back with a maybe useful degree and a definitely useful rich husband.
She promptly sends a WhatsApp message to her Aunt Nandi explaining her predicament.
Nandi is happy to have the lovely and hard-working Amangwe come and stay with her at her home in Deep Kloof Extension. She can certainly use an extra pair of hands at her African Beauty hair salon.
The December holidays pass as a blare of excitement as Amangwe gets ready for her departure to Soweto. Even though orientation week at Wits starts in the middle of February, Kodwa Amangwe opts to leave for Johannesburg during the first week of January so she can get used to the environment Soweto. Her Aunt Zinande arranges for one of Umalumpilani Jr.'s long-distance Johannesburg taxis to do a special pickup of Amangwe and her 2 suitcases. Although excited to be leaving KwaZulu-Natal for the very first time in her life, Amangwe cannot help weeping when she sees Umawe waving and receding as the taxi speeds to Johannesburg. The driver, a young, gum-chewing buckethead wearing fellow named Udu, promptly puts his own music on high to drown out Amangwe's tears and to cut the trip to Soweto from 7 to 5 hours. Tears soon turn to excitement as the mountainous lush KwaZulu-Natal landscapes gives way to the flatter, drier Gauteng landscape. Umdu drops the volume of his music system and proudly announces,
Sangena Josie, keep your eyes and ears open, baby girl. We're heading to the city of gold now.
wow, is this Gauteng Valley?
It being a Sunday afternoon, there's not much traffic on the road. By 5 o'clock, Mdu has picked up the car. It being a Sunday afternoon, there's not much traffic on the freeway. By 5 o'clock, Mdu has parked the car in the Mhlongo yard, Amangwe, the boss's niece, delivered safe and sound at number 44 Deep Groove Extension, Phase 1.
When Amangwe arrives at the house, Nandi is with her friends and co-members of the Soweto High Society Stokvel. The Stokvel members are Nandi and 4 of her beloved friends, all in their 40s. The ladies meet every last Sunday of the month. They eat snacks, they drink champagne, and pull in money into the Stokvel account. The Stokvel ladies are excited to welcome the niece from Eshowe who has come to Johannesburg to study at Wits University. Seasoned socialites they are. They're all keen to bombard Amangwe with tips and tricks to survive Soweto and Wits. Darling.
At the end of first year, Amangwe receives a letter and it reads as thus. Dear Ms. Mhlongo, we regret to inform you that NFF will not fund you in 2014 as you have not complied with the conditions for further financial support. NFF wishes you well in your studies. Sincerely.
Amangwe reads and rereads the letter. Not quite sure what it means. Umawe finds Amangwe in tears on the double bed they've shared since Amangwe was a child. When she sees Umawe, Amangwe's tears come pouring out of her panicked heart.
Mawe is perturbed.
How? What is wrong, Mdanam? Why are you crying as though someone has died? Mawe, Amangwe can do nothing but weep. She does not know how she will pay for her second year without her NFF funding. Between sobs, she tells Umawe her sad news. Being ever practical, Umawe immediately takes Amangwe to go and consult with Umakosi the healer about the possible cause of her beloved's bursary troubles. Could it be the work of a jealous neighbor? Cast ill intent trying to block her child's success?
When Umakosi the healer throws her divining bones, after seeing the healer, Amangwe finally knows who she is, and she knows what she must do. Umakosi the healer explains that Amangwe, like herself, has the gift of divining and prophecy, ubungoma, ubuprophet. Hence her dreaming of the beautiful queen and her demands for restitution.
I must undergo the sacred rites of healers. My brief is to heal ancestral pain that gets passed on for generations. I must ensure that peace and love overcome the violence curses, and wars of generations gone by. Dreams and defining bones will help me to receive messages from beyond clearly. With prayer, uphahla, and redirecting my generation to realignment and getting back to the ancient performance of religious and cultural rites is my mission.
But Umakhosi the healer says, makes sense to Amangwe. First, Amangwe will have to ascend a mountain as the Queen has commanded to atone for wounds inflicted on her, Ashweleze, and ask that the Queen forgive the wrongs done to her. She must pray, apahle, that the Queen's soul must heal and rest in eternal light and peace. Then she must buy a brand new white cloth and present it to the ancestors and pledge that as soon as she completes her studies, she will take on the ancient religious healing practice of Lungoma, Alabi, Abantu Bakankulunkulu. She will heal God's people through divining, ukuphahla, and prayer.